Hey, everybody, welcome to the nation. That's BBQ Nation, and I'm JT, along with my co host, Hall of Famer Leanne Whippen, in our respective studios, Portland and Tampa. Um, we thank you for listening and inviting us into your home or your car today, wherever you're listening from. I'd like to thank the folks at Painterdale's Natural Beef, of course, beef the way nature intended, and also the Oregon Dungeness Crab Commission from Sea to Plate. Well, we've got a very special guest today. You've seen her on the national morning shows. If you follow barbecue competition, you got to know who Megan is. It's Megan Day from Burnt Fingers Barbecue. And she's been so kind to carve out a slot of time for us to be on the show. Megan, welcome.
Yes,
Thank you.
welcome.
Hey, Leanne. Hi, Jeff.
Hi. So I got to ask the most obvious question: who burnt their fingers to get the name?
Believe it or not, none of us did. There's a
Oh,
there's a story behind it, right?
Sure.
So we have all burnt our fingers, but the way it came about was we would do these events in our backyard. Really, it started with Jason, my husband, who really is the reason I'm in this whole crazy barbecue world, is his passion and love for Kansas City style barbecue. And so he'd have all of these parties. And then when we started to date and we would have parties together, we kind of noticed a trend when we had the grill or the smoker going, people would walk over and very quietly open the grill and try to pull a piece of meat off, right? They were burning their fingers to try to get the first bite. And so we would laugh and say, "It is so good, you will burn yourself. We are burnt finger barbecue."
Oh,
I
there
think
you
that's
go.
great. I didn't
That's
know
great.
that story. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
sneaky guests.
yeah,
Mhm.
I've had that where they kind of you see a hand coming out of nowhere and
Out of nowhere.
trying to
It's worse during competition when you're trying to turn in meat and people are like, "Oh, I'll take that bite." And you're like, "That's for the judge."
Yeah.
you've got I couldn't read all of your accolades and stuff for you and Burnt Finger Barbecue on the air. It would take up the whole show, literally.
Oh.
I mean, there's
Uh,
tons of them. But when you started and you and Jason started this, you said it was kind of his passion and obsession.
Yeah.
And then when you joined in the party, so to speak, did you think you would get where you are today when you started?
That's a great question. We had a really fascinating, pretty scattered. We went through the stratosphere right off the bat. Like it was not catastrophic. It was excellent. It wasn't a bad thing, but it was such a seismic hit when we came in that we knew we were going somewhere. We didn't know where it would go and how long it would last. But Jason started doing barbecue as a competition with a couple of friends, and they immediately started winning. And then we decided to do the American Royal, which is in Kansas City. And he took fifth place with his brisket and 38th out of 500 and some competitors. And we were just off like a rocket, right? And then where his claim to fame came in was during that first year of us really competing, he wanted to blog. And so he started a blog that the second recipe he ever put together, where he actually did a step-by-step recipe for the
Hmm.
blog, was something called the Bacon Explosion, which was a bacon wrapped, bacon stuffed barbecue sausage that went viral. And at that point, it went crazy. And we were doing a press junket with Fox and Friends and CNN and the Today Show and all of these places right off the bat because people were looking for coming off of the everything was low fat, it's like 2008 to this super high fat caloric item, right? And so people were very intrigued by it and wanted to get out and smoke and cook. And so we had a very big boom right off the bat where we said, okay, barbecue is going to be a thing for us. And that's when we launched our sauces and our seasonings. But if you would have asked me back then in 2008, would we have the barbecue accolades that we do now? I don't know that I would have believed that we'd still be, making those big waves on the circuit. I think I would have thought we maybe had gone more commercial or maybe even have owned a restaurant. But at that exact time, we were having fun and just riding the wave as it took us.
So how much bacon do you and Jason go through every year? I'm curious
Right?
about that.
Right. A lot less now these days, but during the height of it, I mean, it was metric tons. There's no question about it. We were going through a lot. And I think we inspired a lot of people to get out and do some cooking and grilling of not just a steak or not just a brisket, but to have fun creating concoctions and doing different things like that. So we'll take credit for maybe doing some innovative inspiration out there.
For
You-
sure.
Do you think that's really the impetus? I do. I'm just going to tell you, I
Yes.
do. To get creative, and it's not always about a brisket or a chicken thigh or
Right.
whatever. The competition meats, that's all terrific. But to have people have fun, like just look at Leanne's picture behind her there.
Yes.
That's really nothing on the grill, so to speak, but it's a
No.
great looking dish.
It
Yeah.
is. And that's when you learn how to use smoke and grilling and spices. And it's all part of the flavor profiles, whether or not it's been kissed with smoke or it's got a flame. It doesn't really matter. But the principles of layering flavors and that innovation, like you said, people who competition has to have a structure, right?
Mhm.
So I don't blame it. It's wonderful. And it's been so much fun for us to travel and see the country doing these contests. But where we get our joy and kicks and giggles is going to be what we're making on the grill at home, or now as a mom for kids, for the neighbors, and that's where we really get the fun part. So like this last year at the American Royal, we made an effort to try to be the world champion side dish winners, because we were like, okay, we can do these meats and these are a lot of fun. We're always going to try and win those. But what if we really put our mind to doing side dishes? And by golly, we did it. We're world champions in side dishes. So
Yeah,
that's now
that's
where we try to
amazing.
find, you know what I mean? That's where we try to
Yeah.
find our passion to continue to keep evolving in ourselves and what we like to do.
Well, I said I wasn't going to do this, but now I am going to do this. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So Burt Fingers wins the best sauce on the planet at the
Yes.
Royal. They won
Mhm.
first place in the tomato sauce category at the Royal.
Uh-huh.
And mustard sauce, right?
And mustard sauce.
At
That's
mustard
Memphis.
sauce at Memphis. Yeah.
Memphis.
Yeah.
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 Um,
So
and wings.
loving we so and wings, we're the Memphis in May hot wings world champions right now. Yeah. And would you believe it? The sauce that we won best sauce on the planet was on those wings.
Was it?
I do
So
believe it, actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
you
do.
know, and Leanne, and I appreciate that, because flavors that win, they just
Uh,
do. Pig powder.
Yep.
I mean, like a
Yeah.
flavor that wins. And so people can go out there and try and do all these things, but the reality is if you find something that's clicking, man, you gotta make sure that you continue to perpetuate those flavor profiles.
Do you think people try too hard sometimes?
Do you think?
Attach that to what you were just saying. Something that
Yeah,
wins, and they're trying to get, maybe this is not a criticism because I do it, but you try to get too creative, and it's like, well, the original was actually better.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think you have to. The original is the original. You can innovate because let's be honest, the judges' flavor profiles will change. Sometimes it's hotter, sometimes it's sweeter, sometimes it's saltier. So as you try to kind of figure out that, then you can innovate a little bit on what those flavor profiles are. Where our normal regular
Mhm.
smoky Kansas City sauce is a winner, but what won this year was a chipotle based spicy version of it, right? The palate's a little spicier, and that's what won. So you can innovate off of it, but good is good.
I agree. Good is
Me
good, and
too.
and I think, like you were saying about pig powder,
Yeah,
um, that's kind of a must-have for
you can come
people.
in. Yeah.
I think
So your sauces and your rubs have probably gone through the roof as far as sales. I mean, how much of an increase have you seen over the years after winning all these awards? Do you attribute a
Yeah.
lot of that to the awards, winning them, or do you
Yeah.
think it's because you're constantly out there?
It's both. I mean, I think if you were to say we win and then we see a spike in sales, is probably not the direct return on investment that you would hope to see
Mhm.
necessarily. But where it is the international orders, the recognition from people who are already doing business with you, who order more or take a look at what else is in your lineup.
Mhm.
Those are where we see maybe a little bit later down the road that I'm going to call it kind of an edification, that you continue to be a champion and people want those championship flavors. So a direct we win and see a spike, it's probably not what you would just assume. But yes, we definitely see those relationships getting stronger and wanting more and more products. And then just, you can, it's more about someone sees it, discovers you, and then they go look you up, right? And then they go, oh, holy cow, they've done a lot of things and these flavors and this one here and that one here. Well, I would love to try those other things. So for me, it's as much about embracing the discovery opportunity that those types of awards give you.
I agree.
Do you think being on like the Today Show and that you see a spike after those?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Definitely see a spike. And you know what, where it's fun for me that I see a spike is also in people looking at the recipes that we have on our website. And that to me says, oh, they're engaged. They're looking further than just I want to buy a sauce or a seasoning. While I love that they would like to do that, the fact that we can inspire them to cook more. And then if they discover that they like our sauces and seasonings, then maybe they get out and cook and they go through it more, right? That throughput's even bigger. So I think it all dovetails together.
Well, that's good. That's good. We are going to take a break. We're going to be back with Megan Day from Burnt Fingers Barbecue. That name just conjures up so many images in my mind.
Well, I love their logo. I think they have one of the best logos out there.
Yes,
with the fingerprint. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, if you touch a hot enough grill, you're going to leave your fingerprint right there.
And we have.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a break. Megan and Leanne and I will be back here on BBQ Nation in just a minute. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the nation. That's BBQ Nation. I'm JT, along with Hall of Famer Ms. Leanne Whippen. And today we've got Megan Day from Burnt Fingers Barbecue. Don't forget, if you want to track us down on the social media platforms, all I can say is we're there. Between Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and I don't know, we're on a lot of them. So I'm just going to put it that way. And you can find us at the name of the show. You can find us as individuals and all that. And Leanne's got like 70 bazillion followers, and I've got 4. So anyway, it's all good. But today we're talking with Megan Day from Burnt Fingers Barbecue. I was thinking about
great. We love burnt ends.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, oh yeah, I think I got a piece of pork belly too in the freezer. I might have to do that. So after all the stuff you've done with you and Jason, first of all, who's better, you or Jason?
No.
And I'll make sure he never hears this. Okay.
No, I would love for him to hear this. It depends on what we're doing. If it is the traditional Kansas City style 4 meat category, for those who maybe aren't familiar, that's pork butt, brisket, pork ribs, and chicken. He is a master and has been doing this for so many years. His timelines, his perfection, the bite through, everything about it. He would beat me hands down. If you're looking for innovative, off the cuff, a chopped style where you open the basket or whatever, I like to call it what you gotcha, whatever you got in the fridge. I will nail that every time. That's much more where my comfort zone is, but I'm a mom, so what do the kids, what will they eat? And so we work very, very well together in competition style because there's so many ancillary categories and fun things to do. And then just out cooking. I mean, I love a good steak. I'm really good at steak. But he's gonna nail those ribs, So we just kind of dance together on the grill.
That's a good couple. Very good couple. Nobody's stepping on anybody's toes.
Yeah, that's good. Are the kids competition commandos yet? Or
oh yeah, they're nailing it. They're having so much fun. We actually just had practice the other night. Hank, my son, who is about to be 11, he's 10 right now, is getting ready to age up, and so he'll be doing steak contests instead of like a hamburger or a pork chop. So when they do kids cues, whereas my daughter, who's 8, almost 9, she's still in the category where they typically will do like a pork chop or a hamburger or something like that. So he's practicing his steak and what his steak entries are going to look like because he's aging up into those big kid roles.
What do you guys do on weekends when you're not at competitions?
We innovate and cook and have fun, and we're big bourbon drinkers. We love a good bourbon whiskey. So I know that's not, a surprise to you as the palate and the taste and the warmth and all the things
Yeah.
that you get with those types of flavors. So we really enjoy family time, and we love music. We love live music. So our son is a DJ as well, so he'll throw some tunes on, and we'll sit back and listen. And
Oh,
we just
excellent.
we're definitely in the stage of our life of family time for sure.
Good for you. Good for you. Um, what's the biggest thing you've won this? I've got 3 pages of stuff I printed out about all your awards. Okay.
Exciting.
And what do you think is the best one that you've done? The absolute one that means the most so far to
Yeah.
you and Jason and Burnt Fingers?
Yeah. I think simply because it was the first. When we won first place chicken at the American Royal World Series of Barbecue, it was a perfect 180 score. Chicken is not an easy category to win. None of them are. But if you
Right.
think about it strategically from the standpoint that in reality, you're putting probably 6 to 8 pieces of chicken in a box. It theoretically could be from 8 different chickens, right?
Right.
When you
Right.
do a brisket, it's the same piece of meat that's going in, just different slices, or the same pork butt, or the same ribs, could be multiple rib slabs. But when you do chicken, it is all, you don't know where that chicken necessarily is coming from. And so to be able to master that and do it with a perfect score at the
Excuse
American
me.
Royal, that was it. That was the big deal
That's a
for us.
big one. Yeah, that is great.
Yeah.
It is the first one I think that's becomes the most sentimental, and it really gets you going too.
That's
Oh, it
kind of
set the
what,
hook super deep, right?
yeah, that's what fired you up, wasn't it, Leanne?
Mhm.
Were you and your dad years ago?
First place in pork at the Royal. Oh, it was
Yeah.
Yeah.
over. That was it.
That that big square trophy. Did you get the big square trophy?
They were a little bit different. They were actually
Oh,
bigger.
oh,
They were taller.
awesome.
Yeah. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
Winning this year the best sauce on the planet. I always say you don't get what you want, you get what you need. And I think we needed that. I think we needed that validation that, we're almost, 15 years in or so on doing competition and doing barbecue and having products out, and to know that we have tweaked it and made it exactly, and then now to see it pop as the best sauce on the planet. That's the next big accolade for us. Is pretty exciting.
are you and Jason both from the Kansas City area originally?
So he is from this area, born and raised. We live miles from where he actually grew up now. I grew up in a small community in Western Kansas. So I'm just a small town Kansas girl that's living in the big cities. But, Kansas City was what we identified with. Kansas City was the big city that we would go to. And, when I'd come to town and gotta have Kansas City barbecue, so I
Sure.
definitely grew up with that mentality that Kansas City was in my blood, even though I wasn't from here.
I'm just curious about how growing up around KC there,
Yeah,
uh, kind of, lit that little bit of a fire when he was a kid under Jason and
absolutely.
his family and stuff. And did you, well, first of all, Megan, when you were growing up with your family, did you guys barbecue and grill outside, or, you know,
Yeah,
big
great
bonfires, or
question.
what?
Yeah, yes, I grew up in a rural community, and so it was truly a family community, meaning when my dad would sell Christmas trees with the Optimist organization, there was a Buffalo Burger stand next to it so that we could
Mhm.
feed you and sell you your Christmas tree. We grew up Moonlight Madness celebration where there'd be food vendors and all the family people would get together. I was in 4-H, which was an organization that was very heavy in livestock and food and
Sure.
sewing and all those fun things. But food was definitely something that I would compete doing a cake or a pie for the fair, those kinds of things.
Right.
So that was very much in my blood. But the barbecue aspect to me it was my dad's thing. He would go and he would cook and he would grill, and I can hear it, I can smell it. I remember growing up
Yeah.
that way. Jason, on the other hand, like, he remembers his dad coming home from work with a suitcase and a spice blend from a coworker, and that they were able to then cook ribs with this coworker's famous spice blend, you know. So he had a little bit different growing up and being around a lot of, I'm going to call it barbecue pedigree, whereas
Yeah.
I had just the backyard guys, right?
Right.
Oh, there
Right.
you go. There you go. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back with Miss Megan and Ms. Leanne right after this on The Nation. Stay with us. Welcome back to BBQ Nation. Thank all of our radio stations up and down the line. And also, the podcast is available on multiple, I think pretty much all the podcast platforms, and of course YouTube and all that. And again, we'd like to thank the folks at Painted Hills Natural Beef and the Oregon Dungeness Crab Commission. And last but not least, that's your cue, Leanne.
Oh, pig
Da-da-da.
powder. We were just talking about that. Yeah, my dad's dry rub that it won best rub on the planet too, just like yours, Megan. Very versatile, all purpose. It's slightly spicy. Can be used on French fries, baked beans, pork ribs. Excellent. I've won first place in ribs many times with it. I attribute my win on the barbecue brawl to having pig powder there on most of my turn-ins. So yeah, it's at pigpowder.com. And the new spicy pig powder will be out probably in about a month or so.
Oh,
And
there
you
you
can
go.
find it on Amazon.
Hey,
Mhm.
That's
unabashed.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, unabashed, shameless promotion on this show, and I approve. And I approve this message.
I approve this message too. I approve it.
So, Megan, do you remember the 4 H's in 4-H?
Head, hand, heart, and health.
Yeah, very good.
Very good.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. I spent a lot of time in those dusty arenas in 4-H when I was
Oh,
a
yeah.
little kid, you know. Always 107 degrees outside, and you had new jeans and uh sometimes every other year a new pair of cowboy boots type thing. Yeah, so it's
Looking sharp.
looking sharp, but I remember that. Um
Yeah.
if you had advice for people thinking about getting into this world,
Yeah.
the competition world and all of that, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to find a judging class to take. That would be my very first step because I'm a firm believer you cannot win if you don't know the rules. So go find out what the rules are. How are they judging people? What are they eating? I think it's really important to, if you're looking at the competition side, to really dive into that. Then you can come at the cooking side and say, is my style of cooking going to be something that those judges are going to enjoy? Because if it doesn't matter what you cook, if the judge doesn't like it, it's not going to win.
Right.
If it's something that they're going to like and that they're judging on, so taste, appearance, you know, your texture, figure out what it is that those judges are looking for, and then you can start cooking to really be a competitor.
You know, since you began back in 08 like that, and Leanne and I have talked about this many times on the show, what things do you see in the competitions that, and we touched on it earlier a little bit, just the flavor profiles, have the judges become more sophisticated? Have they gone back to just salt, pepper, garlic? I mean, what do
Right.
you see? You're right in the middle of the country. We're on each end of the country. So what are you
Yeah.
seeing there?
So I think the quality of the protein is where I'm seeing the biggest shift. If you're not cooking a high-end Wagyu brisket, you may not see as much success as the guys who are doing that. If you aren't cooking really good meaty ribs, you're probably not going to see as good a score. So the commodity cuts of meat just aren't winning anymore. Flavor profile wise, I think it's all sweet. I think at least where we are, it's very, very sweet.
Hmm.
And
Are
I
you,
think that's I like brisket, for instance. Brisket lean sweet, and I'm not a sweet brisket gal, but gosh darn it, that's what wins.
huh?
So I mean, you kind of have to figure those kinds of things out. Yeah.
I know I was in our it's a chain. They used to call it Cash and Carrier United Grocers, and I was in the one of the stores, the chef store, the other day, looking for a couple of things, and I just went in the meat cooler just to look. And we do a lot of work, as you can tell, with Painted Hills and that type of thing. So I'm pretty cognizant of beef prices, et cetera, et cetera. But I went in there, and this is just a regular choice brisket, and it was right at $200.
Yeah.
And it kind of
Right?
blew me away that
It's shocking.
just a regular choice brisket. It was a Packer, okay, but it was still right at like 198.75 or something. And I'm like, wow, because I guess I haven't
Yeah.
really truly priced them
Mhm.
in a long time. I know Leanne goes out and does stuff, and you know, she kind of tells me what's going on down south, but I'm right in the middle of cow country here too, and that just kind of blew me away. I
I
can't.
think the bad part is though, because of, as you said, Megan, that it should be the high quality meats, or it is what wins. I think that's what has deterred a lot of people from competing. And I think that's why you're kind of seeing a slack off on the circuit. At least
Mhm.
that's what I'm seeing. People just can't afford to do it.
Can't
Yeah.
afford to do it. They can't. And it's about commodity. That's what barbecue started as. So it's a little heartbreaking. You were taking some of the not desirable cuts of meats and making them very special. And so it is a little frustrating to see that there's a barrier to entry for some people
Mhm.
on this, and why sponsorships are so important for those of us who continue to go and grow. But as I mentioned, we only do a few contests a year now.
Yeah.
Now we do them big. We like to go to Memphis in May. We like to do the American Royal. We like to do some of the bigger contests. But the days of us just going and filling every single weekend, doing 15, 20 contests a year, it's really not how we're going to spend our money. But when we go big, and we try to win big. And so the reality is there are rib association, there's state contests, there's ways to kind of ease in. If you know that you're good and you're having fun, my gosh, I mean, I would pay anything to be able to do that and get those accolades. But beef prices in particular are pretty shocking. And,
Mhm.
but hey, a blind squirrel gets a nut. So I'm not saying you can't do it, right? You
Right,
can
right,
go
right.
put some of those in, and we are marble chasers. That's what we call ourselves. So when we walk into a grocery store and we see something super marbled, where lots of fat and good meat in there, we will buy it. It doesn't matter what it is, because there'll be an application for it. When we're going to go do the American Royal, I'm probably going to upspend and make sure I get exactly what I want. But if I see a cut of meat that is super marbled, I'm going to pick it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was,
Yeah.
like I said, I was just shocked. I mean, when you saw the tenderloin, big whole tenderloin and stuff, those prices never shocked me, because that's,
Yeah.
like that. But to see that brisket at $200, and it wasn't anything special, it was, and I was like, okay,
But
I
it's
guess.
good eating. It's
Oh,
worth
it's
it. It's
good
worth
eating.
it.
It is.
It's good eating. Um, to follow up on what Leanne was saying there too, because I know we all talk to people, but when you think about, if you want to be a serious competitor, well, first of all, in my part of the country, there's not that many contests. There's a few, but not very
Yeah.
many. So you would have, if you wanted to get really on the national stage, so to speak, you'd have to come back to your area or down south where Leanne is. But you think about you're going to have a trailer, you're going to
Yep.
have a decent truck, the expenses
Yep.
of getting there. I mean, I just put tires on my little Ford Escape and I about fell out of my chair,
Oh,
but
yes.
very expensive to do that. And is the reward really in the accolades, or
Yeah.
could most people do what
Mm.
you and Jason and some other ones done, which is turn it into a business?
You can. I think I would highly encourage people who to look at it from a camaraderie standpoint, right?
Yeah.
It's about the act of doing it, the journey, the people that you meet, finding people that you connect with, and having something to look forward to, and having a passion. I think that's where I would say you can't look at it from a cost perspective if that's what you're looking for, because I do think some of the best people in the world are barbecue people. And you hear us talk about it's a reunion, and a lot of these contests, we'll hear certain people are going to contests, and then we try to make an effort to get there because we want to see those people. The extra part about it is the fact that we might do well, we might get a little a reward for our action. The ribbons, that's ego, right? That's ego and vanity, right? Those things
Uh-huh.
are. But where we get truly the love of it is, and why we've continued to do it, is because we love the people.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for that, barbecue is it.
Well,
Barbecue's
also,
something to look into.
I consider it a sport, and sports
Yeah.
have gone, they're crazy expensive to get into. I mean,
Ah.
you have kids, and trying to get your kids into sports, just everything. So I guess it's all relative, but I
Yeah.
just see the decline, and it's probably the decline everywhere and everything, just because how expensive everything is now. But
It is. And I would like to say that you also are seeing contests that were part of community events. Those community events didn't survive. And that's where a lot of those organizations would kind of tap into a existing community event to have a barbecue contest. And so some of those, budgets from cities and rec departments got tightened. And so we saw a lot leave that way. But we've seen some that have, taken bigger roles and have gotten bigger and allowed more people. So you've seen a little of both. But the small town square festival, we just don't see as many anymore, because I think their
right.
sponsors are not there, and their city budgets aren't there. So it's a
Yeah.
little of both.
Yeah, we got approached up here last year, maybe the year before. A promotions company reached out to me and to some other people that are involved, a couple of my clients and stuff, and said they wanted to do a barbecue contest tied in with the county fair, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not at the fair, off the grounds, but they wanted to do it. And, they were looking at a budget to do this somewhere around $100,000 to $150,000. And I said, well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's got no, it's not a huge metropolitan area that they were going to do it in. Very difficult to get everybody to come there. August, like you guys
It's
were just
hot.
talking, it's hot. You got
Hot.
kids getting ready to
Very
go back to
hot.
school.
Yeah.
You got all this stuff
August
going
is
on.
hard.
Yeah.
August is super, super, super hard. But I think that's why, really, to embrace, even though we may not compete, we like to go to them, say hi, support the vendors that are there. I think the ones that are there, we've got to lean into them a lot harder and really support them, because we want it to survive, and we want it to, which I think is why it's important that they have kids queue, or even have a pie contest for the community as part of it. Like, anything that they can do to really bring some foot traffic in and support it is always going to be my suggestion to people, is even if you can't compete, try to go and support it, because you may want to do it next year.
Right.
Yeah.
And it may not be there.
And I think these people trying to put this one on here locally would have been better served to tie it to the fair, have it actually it's a huge fair, and have it involved internally in the fair. Get 10 teams to do it and go forth. Anyway, we got to take a break. We're going to be back with Ms. Leanne and Ms. Megan and Mr. Jeff right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to the nation. That's BBQ Nation. By the way, I wanted to tell people, I own the trademark to BBQ Nation in the media, any aspect of media, because I get people trying to poach the name. Okay. And that's why I ended up spending the money to trademark it. Not slamming anybody, but when we did I've seen the other stuff. In fact, my wife and I were walking, but this is a couple of years ago, we were walking through in the hardware store, and there was BBQ Nation seasonings. And she goes, I thought you owned that name. I said, I do own that name. I own it for all kinds of stuff, And I said, but it's really, unless they get too big for their
that's
burgers.
a compliment. People like it and they want to use it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I guess so.
We're the nation.
We're the nation.
But trademarking, you asked about talking, people who want to get in this, do they want to get into the business side of it? Do not kid yourself. This is a business. I mean, we are trademarked. When Bacon Explosion, which was the first recipe that went viral for us, we trademarked the term Bacon Explosion as a dish, and I had to execute cease and desist all the time, because it was the confusion of the brand and confusion of what it was. I mean, it really is a business, and barbecue. There's a lot of people in that space, so there's no shame in that game. If you want to own it, you got to own it and defend it.
Yeah. And you got to pay the money to own it. And once you do, then you get a little more touchy about people trying to use that name.
It's an investment.
It is.
What do you think is the biggest thing you've learned, Megan, through this whole journey?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I've learned is just being approachable and available. You don't know how you've impacted somebody, you've inspired them. And I'm reminded a lot when someone comes up to me and says, I remember seeing you here. And Leanne, I know you get this. I remember, and you don't know, it may have been something super simple or maybe even not memorable for you, but it was such an impact on them. So just the being kind and giving back, but being assertive and owning what you have, and don't let that brand get diluted, and really understanding the bigger impact that somebody wanted to reach out because they saw me somewhere or they did something. And so I think for me, that big lesson is we're all traveling through this together, but you don't know what your impact is going to be, and just constantly reminded of that.
I had one of those
Good
things
point.
happen the other day. Truthfully, I was at the store and this lady came by and I just caught her out of the corner of my eye and she stopped. I was 2 feet from the end cap looking at dill pickles or something. I don't know what the hell I was looking at, but I was standing there looking at. She stopped her cart and she looked at me and she just like gave me this Vulcan death stare. And it kind of, you know how you feel something, like.
Yeah.
And so I turned around and looked at her and she looked at me again and she just kind of smirked and walked off. And I went, huh, okay, that's weird. But it's happened before. I know it happens every time I'm around Leanne. I can't go anywhere. Somebody's trying to get her autograph and
I
all
love
that
it.
stuff.
That's
So
an exaggeration.
It is not
No,
an
but
exaggeration.
I agree with what you're saying, Megan. I can recall going to contests and meeting children, and I remember one, and I don't know their names, but I remember parents bringing their children back who had grown,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
they were now competing with the family, and they said that, I helped inspire that in their children, and yeah, that, and you don't want to be, bad on the circuit or whatever, or ignore people, because it really does make a difference sometimes in people's lives. You don't realize it. Yeah.
yeah. No, that's very true. And you wouldn't if you had somebody like that in your life.
Yeah.
You would not want them to react negatively towards you when you were
No.
For
getting
sure.
started.
For sure.
You kind of be
Yeah.
kind to everybody out there. We always
Yep.
say that on the show at the end. Be
We do.
kind.
Be
So
kind.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's very
that's
important.
important.
Mhm.
I think too, I mean, food, people are very passionate about food. It is definitely something that they lean into. I say it all the time, barbecue, when someone says you're a pit master, their whole body language changes. They lean in and they say, what does that mean? Or tell me how to do brisket, or they
Yeah.
really, they get it. And so that's where that comes from for me, is the power that holds, and to enjoy that and spread the joy.
Mhm.
No, it's true. And it can be, I think, it is for me in my small bit of the world, but it's very what do I want to say? Fulfilling.
It's
To
positive and
positive
fulfilling. Yeah.
to help
Positive.
people
Yeah.
like that,
Mhm.
like that. Well, you said your kids are coming up in the ranks and all that. Um, do they really think that this is something they want to do at this stage? Now that they're kids.
Yeah.
It's going to change
Yeah.
in 12 minutes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do they think they're going to do this forever?
No, absolutely. They make that very clear.
Okay.
No, but they'll say things like, I don't really want to do this, but can we go shop for some steaks tonight because I want to practice this or that. So they do bring up the wanting to be a part of this and doing this, the little competitive side to them. And
Right.
it doesn't hurt that a lot of these places have snow cones and all the fun things that go with a festival when they get to do it. But no, they've made it very, very clear that their life goal is not to be, a big pit master or anything like that.
Mhm.
And that's okay. This is the time that we spend together as a family, fully expecting. We embrace it now because we know at some point they're going to just be off doing their own thing, and I'm okay with that. But
Yeah.
while they're at this point under 15, if you will, this is where we spend our family time, and they embrace it and run with it and have fun. So we get the fruits of the labor because we get to eat their steak, or we get to
Yeah.
eat their
Yeah.
pork chops
Yeah.
and burgers, and
Absolutely.
it's fun. Yeah.
Is there ever a time when you want to just like lock them in the trailer for an hour and walk away?
We do it now. We can. Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
legal, right? They're
It's
old enough to
legal.
be
We can
locked
totally, they can do it. Yeah. And the camaraderie too with the other kids and the other pit masters that have children, and they can't go anywhere. Everybody knows who they are, so they can't get away with anything. So
Yeah.
they're on their little scooters and they play their cornhole and they do, but yes, we do sometimes. And that they've earned it, right? We've earned that. So
Uh-huh.
we do. But people know to come see us because we've got kids with us most often.
So
Except
Back to your,
for Memphis in May. Memphis in May, they don't come with us. That's mom and dad's party.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go.
Okay.
Back to your sauces and your rub business.
Yeah.
Where can we find them? I know online we can find them, but I mean, are you trying to work out some deals to get into big stores?
Yeah. So Shields is probably it is a outdoor and recreational type store that has amazing grills and smokers and all of those things, but you can get fishing poles and canoes
Like a
and all
Bass
those. So
Pro Shop.
it's like
kinda,
exactly.
yeah.
And Bass at this time right now, Bass Pro and Cabela's do have our products. If they're not sold out, they are on the shelf at those retailers as well. Ace on the shelf. If we're not on the shelf, then we're in the system. You can tell the manager to get it put on the shelf. So as you can imagine, some of those are all very independently owned.
Sure.
But your Westlake and your Ace hardware, you'll see us in a lot of I'd like to call them farm and fleet stores. So if you've got, some of those types of farm stores, if we're not on the shelf, a lot of times we're in the system and it just takes someone asking for it to get it put on the shelf. So we do have those bigger, at homedepot.com right now. You can get our products on homedepot.com.
Good for you.
And then burnt finger bbq.com is also a place that, and I'll even write you a little personal note to say thank you for ordering.
Well, excellent for you.
Yeah.
Megan is unaware, but she is going to stick around for after hours and the abuse that all
It
guests.
won't take that long because she's
love
a
it.
very busy mom.
I know. But
the pool. The kids are waiting for me to take them to the pool.
Okay. Well, we'll keep it short, but we're going to do that. And Leanne and I will be back next week with another edition of BBQ Nation. Until that time, first of all, thank you, Megan. And secondly, remember our motto here: turn it, don't burn it. Go out there, have some fun, grill, smoke, cook something, and most of all, be kind. We'll see you next week. Hey everybody, welcome to After Hours here on The Nation. I'm grab my sheets here.
These are all the surprise
these are the
questions.
Ooh.
These are more fun questions.
Okay, I'm
yeah.
ready.
And
not
this
that talking barbecue isn't fun, but
but as John Marcus said a couple of weeks ago, he says, this is the part where we can swear and say what we want. I said, yeah, because this part doesn't go on the radio. And he goes, okay. And so he did.
I love John.
Great. We did. In fact, my editor wrote me a note. He goes, does he cuss through the
he wasn't that bad, I didn't think.
No, I only had to
Adorable.
make a couple of time notes. Okay, here we go. Let's start with something easy, Megan. If you could cook for and then dine with a historical figure, who would it be and what would be on the menu?
Yeah, Amelia Earhart.
Oh,
that's
good.
the story. Yeah. She's from Atchison, Kansas. So growing up as a Kansas girl, it was always the sense of wonder of somebody who was so willing to be bold and do her own thing, right? And so I think chicken wings. I got to do chicken wings for Amelia Earhart.
Why not?
That's what I got to do. Why not?
My mom was born in Concordia, Kansas. Actually,
nice. I'm aware of Concordia, Kansas. Nice.
Yeah,
they had down south in South Kansas.
Yeah. If you could work with one of your barbecue heroes that you've not worked with yet, who would that be?
A barbecue hero I have not yet worked with.
Yeah.
I would say Malcolm Reed. I have not. I have been around him. I've met him, but he and I have never done something together. And I think I would be very interested in learning his process and how, because he's very much the type of person that finds a recipe that he loves and uses it in barbecue. And I think we have a very similar
Yeah.
style in that way. And
Yeah.
I would like to do something with him. Yeah.
Good choice.
If you think there are any that would apply, what would be the biggest changes that you would make to competition barbecue?
Oh, competition. I would like to see the judges sitting at tables by lottery. I would like to see that they are not, they don't go sit with their friends, or that I would like to see that I pull the hat out of what table you're going to sit at. I would love to see that, so that it kind of breaks up any little, if there is any
I understand.
people who want to sit together, because you've got 6 people who sit there, and if 3 or 4 of them are all buddies,
Right.
I agree.
I'd love to see judging go to an absolute random table assignment.
There you go. What barbecue skill took you the longest to master?
Oh, I'm still trying to figure out the brisket flat.
Okay.
Still trying to
fair
figure out the
enough.
brisket flat.
Fair enough.
I've got the points, the burnt ends are mine. Those are mine. But that flat, it is
It's
a
tough.
leaner piece of meat, not as easy, right? Not as forgiving. So still working on that one.
There you go. What does a fantasy day for Megan look like, and what activities does it contain?
Yeah. I'm a calligrapher. And so
I didn't know that.
I could get buried in all the pens and making those very detailed, specific, on purpose pen strokes. I could get lost for hours and hours and hours.
Interesting.
There you go.
Yeah. And I'll probably have a bourbon while I'm doing it.
Well, what is your favorite bourbon?
Ooh, that's a great question. So every day can probably find on the shelf, Michter Sour Mash is one of my favorites. That's just a good, easy drinking. It has great complex flavors, but you can pretty readily find it. Weller 12 is another one of my favorites. It's a little harder to find, but that's one that I like to celebrate with. And then we have a local in Lee Summit, where I live, Lee Summit, Missouri, which is a suburb of Kansas City. There's a gentleman who has something called Bronson's, and it is a bourbon punch. It's a milk punch. And so it's like a cocktail in a bottle, Bronson's.
Oh, cool.
And that,
Wow.
man, that's so good. Yeah.
Wow. If you could instantly master a musical instrument, and maybe you already have, what instrument would it be?
My voice.
Your voice.
It would be my voice.
I like that. That's a good one.
If I could
Yeah.
master that, that would be wonderful. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a very legitimate question. What is something that your spouse was correct or right about, but you still think he was wrong?
Oh, he thinks my daughter has my attitude. I think he's wrong. Surely she has somebody else's attitude. It's not mine.
I got a 30-year-old daughter, and I stay the hell away from that question. So, if you were an animal, what animal would you be?
A cheetah.
A
I'd
cheetah?
be a cheetah.
There you go.
That's close. Yeah, that's close to me too. I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like carnivore, baby. Let's go.
All right. If you could erase one mistake from your past, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. A mistake from my past. Ooh, I don't. I should say it was when I didn't go out for a job that I really, really, really wanted, and I was too chicken, and I should have just gone for it. But the reality is, it's made me who I am today. So
It worked out.
it worked out.
Everything
Well, I'll tell you
happens
what
for
it
a
was.
reason.
It is actually here's the twist to this. Are you ready?
Sure.
So I at one point wanted to apply to be an on-air host for like QVC or HSN. Like that was something that was very interesting to me, but I was too chicken to do it. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then all these years later, I sold our barbecue for a long time on the Home Shopping Network, and would
It's
go
funny.
to right. And so, like I say, the mistake was that I didn't go pursue that at a younger age when But the reality is everything comes back around, and I still ended up being on the Home Shopping Network in a little bit different capacity. So, but with our own products, which is pretty cool.
So, folks, this is the only show that I know of where I have two QVC queens on the show with me at the same time. I mean, that's the thing. Is there something you miss about your 20s? I know you're only 31, but you know, is there something you miss about your 20s?
I think in my 20s, I traveled a lot more independently. I traveled, I would go to concerts, I would backpack through Europe. Like when I was much younger, I did a lot of those kinds of things. And I miss doing that independent just travel.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something I can definitely do again.
Not by yourself. You got a whole family.
Oh no, I can still do it. Mama needs some mama time sometimes. I do enjoy, we do travel, and I do enjoy going with them, but I do that whole, like, just kind of on my own, going and waking up or eating. And, you know, that was a pretty special time when I was 20.
I think Jeff has a frozen screen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Let's see what he does about that, which is fine because they edit this whole thing, so they'll make it work. He's probably coming back in. We'll give him a second.
You're the host now.
Yeah. That's what he asked me to do one time. I was like, no, I'm co-host. I'm not host. I don't want to be the host. But he's probably trying to get back in.
Get back in. No problem. Just so you know, my cleaning crew might show up here in a few minutes. So
that's right. We're almost done. Just let him know, and then he'll wrap it up quicker.
Okay.
Because sometimes it goes longer than.
They typically come around 2:00, and I think it's just now 2. So
let me just text him and see what he wants to do.
Well, at least it did it during the after hours.
After hours, I agree.
Thank you, boys. You're doing awesome. Oh, you're so sweet. I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
You shifted. I look up and I see Megan up there now. I was like, boy, you got blonde hair all of a sudden. All right. You're back. Okay. I just texted you. All right.
Sorry about that. We had a little power surge here.
She has a cleaning crew coming in soon. So we gotta, go.
Just know that if they may come, they usually come around 2:00. So I expect them.
Well, I'll just like 3 more quick questions.
Yeah.
If we put your skills to music, what would the music be?
Rock and roll.
Particular band?
Yeah. Oh, no particular band, but I think definitely that hard, just rock and roll. It's intense. Sometimes there's a little bit of a bridge in there, a little reprieve, but then they're right back to it. And I feel like when I'm cooking, that's what I'm doing. We're building flavors, we're adding things, we're taking things away, we're adding fire to it. I just, that's my style of cooking, is much, much more intense than maybe say a ballad would be.
Very good. Very good. What's the hardest thing that you've ever done in your life?
Hardest thing that I've ever done in my life.
Yep.
I think when I
have one. I have one. This is a new question. A cartwheel.
A cartwheel?
No. Hardest thing now at my age is a somersault. I cannot do it. I will throw up if I do a somersault. And I used to be a somersault queen. Yeah. But hardest thing, I think the hardest thing for me, when I left my small town, my dad always used to say, our number one export is our kids.
Yep.
And I think it was very hard from the perspective of knowing that was ending. And I wasn't going back. I knew when I left, that was going to be where I was from, not where I was going to end up settling. And I think that was a hard reality for me. But at the same time, it was so exciting. And maybe that's also why it was hard, because it was hard to see. I knew I was leaving a lot of great people. I still go back and see, but that was hard, but it was so worth it.
Okay. Captain and Tennille, Allman Brothers, Adele, Dolly Parton. Celine Dion.
Yeah. Give me Dolly. Dolly
Okay.
Parton.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Entrepreneur, businesswoman. She loves food. She stands by what she wants. I'm a Dolly gal.
Okay. Nick's the last question. What's your favorite movie? Classic movie.
I love Caddyshack.
Oh.
Classic.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Super smart humor, great improv, hysterical storyline. Beckon's summer, right?
Yeah,
I love Caddyshack.
that's a great flick.
You know I do a golf show too, don't you?
Yeah,
So,
I mean now I do. Yeah, Leah mentioned that.
Yeah. Okay, last question. Megan, if Megan's on death row, what would your last meal be?
Burnt.
That's kind of why we save it for the last question.
Yeah. No, last burn-in fried rice.
Okay.
Give me the carbs
bourbon and bourbon.
And bourbon.
And bourbon.
But
Yeah.
give me the carbs and that meat all in one bite. Yeah.
I don't
fried rice with a bourbon.
I don't think you have to take a Lipitor after that because there's not much sense in it.
Nothing
So,
much. No,
yeah, like that.
You're done.
Yeah. Megan Dave from Burnt Fingers, thank you so much for spending the time with Leanne and I today.
And where can we find you on social?
Yes.
Yeah. Social, you can find us on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook. Just look for Burnt Finger BBQ. Or if you want me and some of the behind the scenes with the kids and some of the fun things that we do, I'm Burnt Finger Megan.
Okay.
There we go. Perfect.
You got it.
Well, thank you, Megan. We appreciate that. Thank you, Miss Leanne. I always appreciate you. We will be back again next week with another edition of BBQ Nation at a radio station or a platform near you. Until that time, go out, have some fun, eat some good food, and most of all, be kind. Take care, everybody.